I once accidentally sent a video of myself jerking off to my grandma.
Hey, welcome back to Four for the Road, everybody. I'm your host, Punk Rock, and we got Chris and Road Dirt with us today. And, tonight, I guess, right? It's 9 o'clock at night here on the East Coast. We're going to be talking about some shit that maybe everybody here has experienced. Everybody that's listening here to this has experienced. And we're going to talk about stereotypes, the good and the bad that come with it. And, I think it's mostly bad personally, but there are some perks. I'll give them that. Road Dirt, you had a lot of good examples. Would you mind kicking us off here?
Oh yeah, sure, man. Sure enough. So for listeners, Punk Rock was like, hey, let's talk about stereotypes. So I just threw down like the top 8 that came to mind. I threw them out there into the group and said, well, here's the top 8 from mind. When someone says, what's a stereotypical biker, or what would you think? And the very first thing came to mind for me was violence. So I'll just go ahead and speak on that. So my personal opinion is, I don't think that. Well, let me back up a little bit. So I think that as bikers, specifically members of motorcycle clubs, we tend to adhere to some rules that are a little older, that have been around for a while. Here in America, it was a time, and I don't know when it changed. I can't say exactly when. If you listen to like, if you ever listen to like old radio shows or watch old TV shows from the 40s and 50s, if a man was disrespectful or got out of line, it was common culture. He got popped in the mouth and knocked on his ass for being disrespectful and acting like a jerk. And it seems, I didn't live then, but it seems like from reading older books and watching older shows and listening to older men talk, that was kind of a common thing. If you stepped out of line, if you were disrespectful, if you got up in someone else's space, they would just dot your I or catch you on the chin, put you on your ass. And it seemed like that was the end of it. You weren't a monster for, physically assaulting someone, for punching that guy in the mouth. You didn't go to court. Federal charges didn't end up resulting. I think as bikers and in the motorcycle club community, that mindset still does exist. I mean, let's be honest. I don't think it's a bad thing personally. If someone gets in your space or disrespects your woman or disrespects your brother, it's kind of like to go to. It may not be the very first thing you do, but it's not unheard of for somebody to get rocked. So I don't know if that stereotype, I don't think as far as it goes, I don't know any bikers that are just violent for fun or violent needlessly or act out violence without thinking. I don't know really too many people that do that. But I do know bikers that when you cross the line, they will reach out and touch somebody. But I don't think so. I guess that's from my point of view. I can see where that stereotype would come from, being that I think we adhere to some older rules and some older values, and it's just seen as needlessly violent. But that was my first one. So I'll turn it back over to you.
I really do agree with you on that. And realistically, I reading through the list that you sent, I think that they're all spot on. And, just speaking on the violence portion of it, I 100% agree pretty much with everything you said. There is a time and a place for it, 100%. And I think that it can be used as a great educational tool. Like we're all veterans here. I don't know if you guys have experienced this. I'm sure you have. But when you get out of line, your supervisor, talk to you maybe once, but after that, you get hands put on you, to prevent paperwork from happening. I know for me, when I was real young in my career, I was 17 years old when I joined the military, and I thought I knew everything. I thought I had the world figured out. And then my leading petty officer helped bring me back to reality inside of a Connex. We called that Connex counseling back in the day. But yeah, I think me personally, I think the civilians look at all bikers, whether you're a club guy or not, that you just have this like mean streak in you, snap on a moment's notice. And you know, coming from like the 99, like mom and pop club side, you know I had the misconception for a long time where I thought that one percenters specifically were just full of malice and, you know, enacted needless violence and stuff like that, you know, and that was until I started meeting them. And then I was just like, oh, wait, this guy is just a normal fucking dude. You know, it was pretty cool experience for me. And I'm really glad I had that, because then, you know, that opened up a whole lot of friendships for me and people that I could depend on and people that I consider part of my extended family. So what you got, Chris?
Well, I mean, yeah, it kind of piggybacks on everything you guys are saying. And I think when it comes down to clubs, especially clubs these days, because of the fact that there's so many eyes on everything, friggin' everybody now is a damn reporter with their cell phones going live here, there, whatever. A lot of stuff will hit social media platforms before it even hits the local news. And so, you know, the way I look at it is I'm not in the shit business. I'm not in the business of taking shit. I'm not in the business of starting shit. But if needs be, I will be in the sanitation business and cleaning that shit up. And, you know, everybody has their own individual line for them personally that, you know, once that line's crossed, then, you know, it's gonna go from bumping gums to a more physical reaction. But when it comes down to not only being a representative of yourself, but also being a representative of whichever organization you are, there's also another line there. So sometimes those two lines are going to be a little bit different, you know, and the juice has got to be worth the squeeze. And, you know, because you never know what's going to happen, especially, you know, if you're in an organization where you're looked at as, you know, street terrorists or a gang, you know, those buzzwords that we don't ever use. You know, we're a club. You know, you could end up getting additional charges racked up on. So, you know, the juice has got to be worth the squeeze. But that doesn't change where that line is. And, you know, being respectful and commanding respect are two things that go hand in hand with the opposite end of that, not to get to the point where that line gets crossed.
Absolutely, man. And I like how you threw in that, you know, if I have to be, I'll be in the sanitation business. That was, you know, I'm going to write that down. But you know, the next one that the road dirt.
Well, hold on, I got one last. I have one more thing I wanted to throw on the end of that. So, and another, and we have to say this, you know, there's video proof out there of true violence happening in a community, but the problem is the sensationalization. We always have to touch on that and remind it, the thousands and thousands and thousands of events we have that go no issues whatsoever, and the months and years pass and nothing happens, and then we have one violent act break out, and some of these media platforms grab it and run with it, and that's all they play on a loop, and that's all people see. So that's also, I want to just say that, don't say that, or I do not want to say that violence doesn't happen. It does, but it gets exploited so much, our community, when something happens, because people want to prove a point and they want to prove certain stereotypes to be true, that they will beat that dead horse relentlessly. So I just wanted to say.
Well, yeah, and a lot of times they'll use stock footage. They'll use stock footage and attach it to a article, you know, stock footage from 25 years ago, attach it to an article that happened yesterday, and use that as their grab, as their attention grab for the words that are on the page, and it can be completely misrepresented. All that stuff is a snapshot in time over. I mean, you know, clubs have been around forever. So, you know, a little 15-second loop of something that, you know, happened 10, 15, 20 years ago, that doesn't necessarily prove the agenda that's trying to be pushed by whatever it is, whatever outlet is making that, you know, that reporting on something that's current.
Exactly. You know, and that's something that I'm covering in, you know, I'm doing my 1% moniker history on the Facebook page right now. And that's something that, you know, we're piecing together. And that's what I'm trying to portray is that the media has never been fair to bikers, like from the get-go. We've always been portrayed as dirty, violent, crazed animals, and in reality, that's not us. Like, yeah, those people exist, 100%. You know, just like Road Dirt said, shit happens, but that doesn't make it the norm. You know, and like you look at the Riverside riot in 1948 in Riverside, California. You know, they call it the Riverside riot to begin with. There were more than 6,000 people there, right? And 47 arrests. Like, I call that's a good day. You know, like that's a good weekend.
Right.
And then, dude, 12% of those arrests were Riverside residents that weren't bikers. You know, but they don't want to look at that. They want to just call it the Riverside riot. It's what, you know, sex and violence sell. So that's what they're going to report on, and they're going to blow things out of proportion. And like you said, they're going to use old photos, just like they did in the Riverside riot. They used a photo that was taken at Hollister, and I don't know. I can talk on that all night. So,
well, that's because it's not important. It's not important to be factual these days. It's important to be first. So when the importance is first, what you're going to go for is the easiest low-hanging fruit on the branch. You're going to get it. It's going to go to your media room, and then it's going to be looped in with whatever you're reporting, because it's more important to be first than it is to be accurate. And the journalistic integrity just isn't there anymore. Which, you know, that's a product of the airwaves being open. The fact that there was never anything written into where you couldn't sell airtime during the news is what perpetrates this stuff, because sex, drugs, and violence, it sells. It gets people in the chairs watching the news, so that way in the commercials for, you know, tampons and strawberry flavored douche, it'll get sold because it got watched during the news.
Yep. And yeah, man. And that's one of the things that I'm really proud of, being part of Four for the Road, man, is that when we say something that is controversial or contradictory to what we've been taught for years or decades, you know, we do our best to back that up with proof. And if, you know, like again, using myself as an example with the articles that I'm writing, is if I'm not going to provide you proof, because I'm not going to provide all these screenshots and then my notes scribbled and cite all the websites that I visited. This is all Googleable information, right? Like, you could look this up and then you can cross-reference that information that you found that I presented. You can cross-reference that with other information. You know, now you have
that's too hard, punk rock. That's too hard.
Well, that's
too hard. It takes too goddamn long.
Ain't my problem.
It's not easy.
Then take it.
That's why what you guys do is awesome. That's why what you guys do is awesome. You guys really with the history shit is amazing.
It really isn't easy, man. I've been, you know what? I've got 2 articles about this already, and I've been doing research since August of last year. Mm-hmm. You know, it's pretty much been my life at this point. You know, but I'm gonna save that because Dave and I we have a episode planned, because he's already been on this journey. So I don't want to blow the load on that just yet. But moving on to your load. Save the load. But moving on to your second stereotype. And I 100% get this one, is that bikers are racist. You know what? Maybe I really don't know how to say that really, but you know, maybe back in the day you'd be onto something. Are there racist people in the motorcycle club community or in the motorcycle community? 100%. Guaranteed. Won't argue that. They exist. But again, they don't make up the majority. And I think a big misconception which people perceive other people to be racist is when they see, you know, well, I haven't met somebody that's not racist that wears a swastika, but I've met non-racist folks that wear bolts, you know, stuff like that. But, you know, hey, just because I haven't met a guy like that doesn't mean he doesn't exist also.
Yeah. So on race, you know, there's racist people on my job site. There's racist people in the Army or the military. There's racist people at your local church. There's racist people everywhere. So I would say that there's no difference in any other community, right? I mean, you're going to have people that are racist, but as a whole, the community is not racist. I think what throws people off is when they see like all black clubs or all white clubs, and and they get that twisted and they feel a certain kind of way about it. But that doesn't denote racism. I mean, I know plenty. I've got friends in clubs that are all white, and I have friends that are in clubs that are all black, and they're not racist. They're just members of clubs that have one race or stick to one general race. Not my club, not my business. So, but ultimately, it just doesn't mean they're racist. And people just start throwing that around, saying, "Oh, bikers are racist." And I would be willing to say that there's the percentage of, it's no different. It's just like any other community or any other group. I would just say that from my perspective, the one thing that gets people shook up is when you have these clubs that omit certain races, but we don't let women in our clubs either. That doesn't mean that's one of our other topics on here. I won't jump into it, but there's a lot of motorcycle clubs. Traditional motorcycle clubs don't allow women. Doesn't mean I hate women. Doesn't mean I'm a chauvinist. It's just my club doesn't allow women. I've got daughters and a wife, and I'm going to stop right there because we're going to roll right into one of the other topics. So next person.
No, I think that was a great segue into it. Is that a lot of people think that we're chauvinists or sexist. I think honestly, I really do believe that they go kind of hand in hand when we're talking about this stuff, because it's either way, you're still barring membership based on a
criteria
identification. Yeah, well, I was going to say an identification characteristic, right? You're
right.
a black man or a white woman. Like, you can't be in my club because of something, some defining characteristic. Okay, cool. Like, on one hand, I can understand why people would feel that way, but on the other hand, I asked a guy who was in a club that allows everybody but one demographic, and I asked him, I was like, well, you're not racist, but that's a racist policy to me. He's like, well, it is a racist policy if you want to just like cut and dry, black and white. Yeah, it is a racist policy, but at the end of the day, there's nothing just cut and dry and black and white about the biker community. Whether it's just the motorcycle community, the motorcycle club community, there's nothing just black and white about it. He said, well, think about it this way, man. He says, so your name's punk rock. You listen to punk rock. You love punk rock. You love that like anti-authority shit. I was like, yeah, dude, absolutely. Fucking like I'm rocking out to like the Ramones and Anti-Flag and shit on my way to work in the morning. Like, it's not slow jams or the news, He said, cool. So if you just absolutely fucking hated rap, are you going to join a club with members who predominantly listen to rap? So, well, probably not. Like if that's all that's going to be played at the clubhouse. And then when I get there, if I'm the first guy there and we're listening to, Descendants or something like that, somebody's probably going to have an issue with it and take the aux cord away. And now I'm not having a good time because I'm listening to a bunch of shit that I don't like to listen to. Okay, cool. Like and we kind of went down that trail. I don't want to really get into too much more detail but so like on one hand I get it, on the other hand I don't. But again, not my club, not my business. If I don't like the way that your club operates, I'm just not going to fucking hang around your club. It's not my place to tell you that you're fucking evil or anything like that, because you're not. You guys have a preference, and that's what you're going to go with. So what else? I think the next one was how we treat women. I think that's a very good one, right? Especially when we have the stigma like the property of patch. Like we're calling women property, and that's not it at all.
From the woman aspect, I mean, I can understand the a little bit tough to swallow, the property of thing. I know personally that it took a few conversations because of just the stigma of that quote unquote title. But I mean, you look at, if you're married, you exchange rings and you're wearing something that symbolizes that you're that other person, that, you're attached to that other person. And in our culture and in a lot of cultures, when you get married, the woman's identity basically becomes transformed to an addition of the man. you know, you don't get the property of title when you get married, but you know, like a lot of times, you know, I have yet to meet a dude that dropped his name and took his wife's name. I I just haven't met one yet because it's like, you know, so, you know, yeah, it can be a little bit difficult to follow, but I know at least for me, when it comes down to, you know, my wife wearing property of and something happens, there's a little bit more of an instant recourse that can happen that to where it doesn't put myself or the club or those relations in jeopardy, because the dude that was being disrespectful should have already known better, because there's a big patch that says not this one.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're less likely to end up having a club on club issue, in my experience, with handling that immediately and swiftly, than if she's not wearing it, dude doesn't know better. Now you got to make a decision. Okay, well, am I pissed off enough that I'm going to put more people than just me in jeopardy right now by going ahead and going to blows? Or do I need to go find this guy's fucking sergeant and make sure that there's a conversation, and at least that other club has the opportunity to handle that issue, you know, in their purview. So, you know, the way I look at it is it's a biker wedding ring, for lack of a better term.
I like that. So what you got on that road, Dirk?
Yeah, so, you know, honestly, now we know it's a motorcycle club. It's our club, it's not their club. Anybody that's familiar with the club culture, they're aware of that. That's a common saying, not their club. So obviously they don't have any say in how we run our club or what we do. That's known. That's just the way it is. It's nothing disrespectful. It's just, this is our thing. It's not yours. A lot of times you'll see property of or the old lady sitting off to their side, keep staying to their business and just doing what they do. But I promise you, those women are revered in that group. People don't see that and may not realize that. But that group of old ladies over there, minding their business, doing their own thing while we do our thing. But those women are revered. That's, to me, the way I see it. Old ladies and properties are like royalty in a club and in that environment. So, you know, it's like people may see it as misogyny or, you know, that we're chauvinistic or whatever. But, you know, like I said, I'm married and I've got 3 daughters, and I put women very high on a pedestal. And I respect and love, you know, I respect and love my women. I respect and love my sisters in the club, you know, my nieces. MC, we look at things just a little bit differently because that's just the way we do things. But I can see where people would think what they think. And once again, and I don't want to go down that road too far, but once again, it's that sensationalization. It's that damn media. They love to run with that stuff, that we're passing women around like whores, and you know, our property out or property, and we're doling them out, you know, which is nothing could be farther from the truth. But yeah, I can see where people would think that. And once again, I'm sure there are people that hate women in the motorcycle club community. Just like there's a guy at work who talks bad about women. Once again, we're a community. You have all types. You've got some knucklehead over there that's running his suck, saying mean things, but if he says it about somebody's wearing property of, he'll probably be picking his teeth up off the floor.
Yep. You know, and I like how you said that they're like royalty. You know, because like even you know, even the UK, like they still have the royal family, but they're not calling the shots no more. You know, you know. But yeah, like it's a very honorable fucking thing to like it took a lot for that guy to give that woman that property patch. You know, that's not. You know, I met this girl 3 weeks ago. We started dating, so now she's my PO. That ain't it, man. I like how Chris said it's that biker wedding ring. But then like the sensationalization of it is, you know, like Sons of Anarchy, I think is a great one. You know, it was a great TV show, but it definitely portrayed the biker community in not a correct way. you know, like there's that, what was that one chick, and it doesn't fucking matter, but like, you know, pass arounds and stuff like that, like
The crow eaters.
yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah, but you know, it's like, yeah, dude, it's cheesy, and yeah, there's girls that show up to parties and they're specifically looking for a patch holder to wipe her up eventually or whatever. That shit's real. You know, I've seen that, but it's not like we have women specifically like just stuffed in a clubhouse and we only bring them out as like fuck toys. Like that's not real, you know. So, and I think another thing is just the the rumor mill in the civilian side of it, just doing what it fucking does. You know, you have ignorant people talking to ignorant people that want to feel important. You know, I can't tell you how many times like you come across a message board or something like that, like, oh, my boyfriend is probating for, you know, XYZ club. Like, what is going to be expected of me as a woman? And then you have this other woman chime up and be like, oh, well, you're going to have to let every guy in the club like dick your butthole down, and you're going to have to, you know, like,
that was the craziest hog charter on the planet
ever.
Remember that chick? That chick was a hog member. Remember?
Yeah. Yeah, dude, she was just like, you're gonna have to let everybody dick you down, and you're gonna have to wash their bikes, and you're gonna have to go to all of their houses every night and cook them dinner. And it's just like,
perfect.
Like, my wife doesn't even cook me dinner every night. Like, what the fuck? like
Crazy.
Come on now. Like you guys both said, like, anybody even like so much as gives my wife a side eye. Like, dude, I'm not a really violent guy. I really, even for some shit that normally like people in the culture would dot some eyes for, I'm still wanting to like, hey, sit down. Like, I want to know if this is really what happened or if I'm just in some sort of mood or whatever. Like, I'd still rather sit down and talk to you, but like, dude, you fucking anything to do with my wife, like I'm just gonna fucking kill you. That's the end of it. You know, my daughter
Allegedly.
Oh no, I mean that shit. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, again, if I kill people, I do I do a percentage of my sentence and I get out, then I guess that makes me unemployed and unemployable, which is another stereotype that we have in the biker culture. I don't know if we bring this one on ourselves or not. Because there's some shit that we bring on ourselves, I'll be honest here. But I don't know if we bring this one on ourselves or not. What are your guys' take on that?
Go ahead, Rodert.
I think unemployed and unemployed or unemployable is still left over from the 60s when everybody was living free, and you know, it was a different thing back then. The hippie movement and the bikers, you know, kind of just whatever, you know. And I don't even know how much I have to go back to our historians if that even really happened. You know, I mean, you know, we had the free love and all that going on in the 60s, but I don't know that the bikers were able to do what we are told and what we read and all the stories, that they just kind of drift and do. I don't know if that even really existed. But I think that's where that comes from, is the movies and the stories and the things we hear about people drifting from place to place. Because has anybody checked the price of a fucking Harley Davidson lately?
Right.
You sure to fuck ain't unemployed or unemployable if you're riding a Harley Davidson, because this is an expensive fucking lifestyle. You take just keeping a motorcycle going is expensive. Now you add clubs and runs and going place to place. Most criminals I know are pretty fucking broke. People that are true criminals, they're just like, what the fuck ever, and they live hand to mouth. You're not making the money it takes to fucking do this thing on pennies and nickels and dimes. So, but I don't know where that stereotype came from. I just know it is one. Would you like to elaborate on that? Either one of you?
I think it just came from from the overall grunge look, right? So, you know, stereotypes have their basis in making assumptions about people based on look or based on what they're doing. So you can have, you know, the old L7 Winnie Kids the Square that, you know, is in his Volvo going to work at 8:00 in the morning, that looks over and he sees a dude on his bike. Obviously, you know, it's a Wednesday or something, and homeboy is out living a free lifestyle, and there comes a little bit of jealousy in that. And he's like, oh, look at this dude. You know, he's this unemployable hippie dude is just out there riding his bike. And, you know, that kind of mindset can steamroll real quickly into a blanket statement that anybody that's on twos on a weekday, not looking like they're dressed professionally, going to work or whatever, well, they're automatically going to assume that dude's a blight on society, that's the guy that's getting the welfare check or whatever the hell ever, and that's the guy that's, you know, out there kind of living for free on Uncle Dime, and while, you know, you're stuck in your Volvo going to your square job and being miserable all day. So I think it kind of maybe stemmed from that, from, you know, those old days where, you know, the majority of Americans did a lot of, you know, kind of manual labor type of stuff, you know, before the computer age and things like that, where, you know, I think it actually stemmed out of jealousy and, you know, a little bit of lust to be going and being able to do that. And it turned into a negative thing because there's no way that anybody can figure out how to do that. Right. But I have no stats, or I have no pie charts to back it up. That's just my opinion.
Right. No, I mean, I see where you go with that, and I can see where that comes from. Like a, you know, I'm this posh fucking whatever because I have to be, because this is what my family was, and now, you know, they've always had that kind of like thing in the back of their mind about like what it's like to actually just live the way you want to fucking live your life, and they get mad seeing other people doing what they want to do. I get it. I mean, I kind of, I don't know. I think it's kind of like a little bit of both, man. I think it's, you know, these bikes and this lifestyle is expensive. You know, they are expensive, and people are choosing to put their bikes over, you know, saving up for a nice house. They'd rather live in this 2-bedroom apartment or 1-bedroom apartment to keep their bike running instead of getting rid of their bike so they can put money aside to go buy a house or something like that. I understand that. And, you know, I see that because that's what I saw with my father. You know, my father was always building a bike, or he was maintaining the fucking hot rod that he had. And the shit's expensive, you know, like I remember holding apart and like, just kind of playing catch with it. And he's like, hey man, that shit costs a couple $100 and you only get $5 a week in allowance. It's going to take you a while to fucking pay that off. It's like, fuck dude, I'm gonna just go put this down, you know, but I mean, that's just my opinion. And there could be, I mean, we could be way off, you know, maybe it's the fact that there's still a tattoo stigma. I think everybody here has tattoos. I don't think anybody on staff doesn't have tattoos. You know, maybe
I don't think so.
No, Jim's got tattoos, I'm pretty sure. But anyways, you know, I mean, maybe it's that, because I think that's a pretty common thing to see in the biker community as well. A lot of us are heavily tattooed.
Stemming on the tattoo thing, I actually had a conversation with my son last night while I was out shooting pool in my pool league, because he was talking to me about getting his hands tattooed, and the kid's 19 years old. And I said, dude, you don't want to be doing that, you know, until you're secure in your career, you're secure in whatever it is that you're going to do. I said, you don't want to put yourself into a box where your life goals are going to be limited by getting your hands done. I said, get a full sleeve. They make long sleeve shirts. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot you can do wearing gloves every day going to an interview. Somebody's going to ask something, because that stigma is still there. You know, when I got deemed unemployable, that's when I got my hands done. I didn't have to worry about going and being a maintenance manager anymore, or going and playing that corporate type of role, even in a heavy industrial and manufacturing environment. Once that door was closed to me after my stroke, I said, fuck it. Now I own my own business, and if I lose business because I have hand tattoos, well, then so be it. I don't want to do business with you anyway. But that is a beautiful thing of being your own boss. And I think maybe that's part of what we didn't grab on this one is, hey, just because some people don't like other people's choices or the way that they view responsibility or whatever, that doesn't make it a wrong way. You know what I mean? If the way you want to go through is doing it and not being on two or whatever like that, and that's your journey, well then, hey man, rock your path. But don't begrudge somebody else the same freedom to be able to pick their path as well. And for some folks, they don't want to own a house. They want to own 4 brand new Harleys. Right on. Hey, live it up, homeboy. You know what I mean? And it shouldn't really affect anybody else. The day-to-day or the lifestyle choices or the way that anybody else chooses to live their life, as long as they're doing so in a respectful manner that doesn't fucking encroach on anybody else's way to live their life. So I think that's what it kind of boils down to.
Yeah, but let's go back. So I will say one last thing on this. What I'm going to say is if everything we just talked about, I think any one of us can go into our circle and find dudes in our clubs or in our circles that are making anywhere from high 6 figures down to the guy who's making $14 an hour. We have that expanse in our communities, right?
Yep.
But ultimately they're all working still. I just don't think there's, I mean, everybody, some people are in between or might be, but whatever. I don't know too many people that are successfully riding every day, keeping their bike running and functioning that's not got a steady job. I don't know anybody, you know, I mean, there's people, I mean, don't get me wrong, but I mean, as an average, you know, 99 or 98% of these guys have a steady income, regardless of how they come about that income, you know, but they're
yeah,
putting in
whether
work.
it's retirement or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's steady income coming in from somewhere because it costs a lot of money. So,
Well,
I guess you could say it's a job to stay on a street corner with a sign and beg. That's earning the income, right? It may not be respectable to some people, but they're still putting in work, putting in 8 hours a day out there, harassing the fuck out of the community to get money.
No doubt.
Shit, man. Well, I mean, hey,
GoFundMe.com. GoFundMyTripToFlorida.com.
Hey, man, like all I'm saying is like if people go to blacksalessupply.com and keep buying shit, then I could be one of the people that Road Dirt knows that just rides his bike professionally and maintains it and makes a decent living. That's Black Sales Supply.
Right. That's Bravo, Lima, Alpha.
You know, and you know, I want to, you know, another one that you brought up, man, and I fucking love that you brought this up was Uneducated. Again, you know, this kind of goes hand in hand with the unemployable shit. A lot of jobs out there require a bachelor's degree or some form of training, of formal training. You know, I'm not going to put everybody's shit on blast here, but like you look at most of the dudes on the staff, nobody here's a fucking nobody here works at a fast food restaurant. You know what I'm saying? Like we have dudes that spent 20 years learning their craft and then took that to the civilian sector and started implementing it there. We have dudes who have degrees from fucking Purdue, you know, like that shit's fucking nuts. And these are just these dirty, tattooed fucking bikers, right? And my favorite story regarding this specific stereotype happened to me on my way to church, right? So I was religious, and I even have a bachelor's degree in theology from Liberty Baptist University. And I was stopping at a gas station getting cigarettes, and there's this old lady who was in front of me. She was waiting for the clerk to come back, and she just kept like turning around and giving me the stink eye. I was like, "Is everything all right, ma'am? Like, do I need to back up? Am I too close to you or anything like that?" She was just like, "Well, you know, I think that you're just going down the wrong path. And, you know, there is a church that's just down the street. And I think maybe you should look at maybe going to that." I said, "Oh, are you talking about this church?" And she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, well, hi, my name's Ken. I'm a deacon there." She said, "Excuse me?" I was like, "Yeah, that's where I work on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays and Sundays. I'm a deacon there." And she was just like, "No, you're not. You don't need to lie," and blah, blah, blah. Well, luckily for me, she had just left her last church and she was looking for a new home. And I met her over there after the gas station interaction. And then watching the team come over and give me a hug and all that stuff, even before I'm off my bike, like people come up, say what's up to me. The kids fucking run over and they're like, "Dude, like rev the engine, honk the horn." And it's just, I just kind of like looked over at her and be like, "Oh, hey, like I just met you. Like, how you doing? You know, I'm glad you found us." You know, but again, it's just a stereotype that we're these uneducated fucks, and these shits are expensive, and so are the fucking parts. Can we talk about that for a minute? Why are these goddamn motorcycle parts so fucking expensive?
Because we'll pay for
Because
them.
we'll pay for them.
Yep.
Fuck both.
We said it at the exact same time. Because we'll fucking pay for them.
Yeah.
Motherfucker. Jesus.
So as far as uneducated too, when I said uneducated, I like to say too, not just uneducated, but dumb. You know, that's a thought, uneducated and dumb, because I've got one of my brothers I was talking to the other day, and he's a critical thinker. He's a good conversationalist. He's very, very thorough. I don't know that he's ever been beyond high school. I never asked him. You know, I haven't asked him at this point. I know he's very skilled in trades, but I think he was more of a hands-on trained guy over years and years. And, well, you know, that's not true, because I know he drives a truck too. So he's been to, I think, you know, he's gotten the CDLs and stuff. But, you know, once again, it's amazing when you just start talking to people in the community. You know, just let's leave out the fact that we personally know guys that have PhDs, master's degrees, bachelor's degrees, 2-year certifications, you know, all the trades that they've been to school for, and mechanics courses. You know, let's take that out of it. But there's some good conversationalists and some deep thinkers out there that ride motorcycles, and you just sit around. I mean, it attracts a certain type of person. I think it's, you know, we're a little romantic. I might be romanticizing this a little bit, but I don't know, man. I don't know too many bikers that don't just like to get deep and just throw shit down. They might have a couple when they do it, or smoke a blunt, but they'll have some deep conversations that really just a dumb person can't have. That takes a certain level of intelligence to carry on a good conversation and go into deep, you know, go into weird topics and stuff. So I just want to say also that uneducated or dumb, I guess I could have added that.
Man, I feel like all you're doing today is just sending shots my way, man, because I've relied on you a couple times to keep the conversation going. So, and then that joke is not going to land. Okay, cool. So moving on.
No, it's because I'm dumb, dude. I didn't have nothing to say.
I was talking road dirt, man.
No, but to piggyback on what Road Dirt's talking about, some of the guys, the majority of the people that I've conversated with, you know, because that's what most of our get-togethers is a series of conversations. You know, I mean, everybody's going to get there and they're all going to be partying for a certain cause or a certain reason. But if you walk around an event, you're going to walk past probably about 10 different conversations that are fairly deep. You know, I mean, bikers are some of the most well-read, most well-spoken folks that I've had the pleasure of coming into contact with. Per capita in the motorcycle community, there might be one or two dumb people, maybe, that you're going to meet at an event, but you're going to meet way more dumb people at Walmart going to get your groceries.
Tell you what.
Per capita.
Well, I mean, we have to be thinkers, I think. Like, if you're going to stay on a bike for any amount of time, right? And this isn't just the club community. This is motorcycle community as a whole. If you're going to stay on a bike for any sort of period of time, and I'm talking like years, not like, you know, you spent a couple hours on the road. I'm talking about like you've been riding a bike for more than a fucking decade. You have to be comfortable with your own thoughts, because eventually, like you're gonna, hey, I don't want to listen to the radio today, or you're on a bike that doesn't have that capability, and you don't have your fucking chinga that off the fucking side of your helmet, fucking head unit. There we go, headset. You got to be comfortable with your own thoughts, and I don't know. I mean, I know for me at least, like I don't just sit there like, okay, there's road, getting close to the line. Okay, there's road. Oh, there's a car over there. I don't fucking do that. You know, I think about problems and, you know, typically like about my life, but, you know, thinking about like, man, what would happen if, and then you just find yourself going down that fucking rabbit hole, or, you know, I don't know. This is another one where I can just fucking go on forever, but I don't.
No, I mean, that's 100% truth. We get lost. I mean, the helmet that is there, dude, and the thoughts typically don't escape. They rattle around in it. You know what I mean? And I know for me, there's been lots of times where, you know, especially right after I got out of the military, you know, the first 5-6 years getting out, I wasn't ready to get out. I got put out medically. So, you know, I still had probably 4 years on my contract when I got medically separated. And I wasn't ready, and I didn't have any type of plan, because that was not a plan, or that was not a situation that I was anticipating. So there were a lot of times where my wife would come up to me and she'd be like, all right, what do you got going on this weekend? You know, it was the end of a long week of work. And she goes, you got nothing going on? All right, well, hey, here's a bunch of money, and come back, go ride, and come back when you're not such a fucking asshole. Because I would just get in my fucking head. I didn't have any outlet. I didn't have any release. It just felt like it was mundane, day in, day out, same shit. So I'd just go get lost in the desert for a few days, come back, go to work. And, you know, then I'd be better to be around, you know, for the next 3 or so weeks, until she goes, okay, well, yep, your tank's on empty. It's time for you to go ride again. So being comfortable in your thoughts and being able to reflect on things, I think that does help with a little bit of that conversationalist aspect, where you can pick up maybe on some of those tendencies from, you know, somebody else, and then you can have a conversation about your experience that's actually going to end up maybe talking that dude off that ledge, or maybe, you know, that dude not feeling so alone in, you know, what he's going through. Because let's face it, man, we're dudes and we're bikers. So mental health is not something that we talk about very often. But it's probably something that is a pretty dominant feature in why we choose to live in a lifestyle of brotherhood, and also at the same time live in a lifestyle of isolation. Because yeah, we could be thundering down the road 2 abreast and 100 deep, but each man is on his own machine and in command of his own machine, being part of the whole. So there's a duality working there, right? Because you got to have yourself and your brain click in and in check and be comfortable within your own thoughts, at the same time as being comfortable within a group that maybe doesn't 100% have the same ideas that you have, but you're all chugging along in the same direction, and being able to be a part and a cog in that group, and in that brotherhood, and in that big machine that's running, speaks to how kind of well you might have your own shit in check a little bit.
Fucking boom. Motherfucking knowledge bomb from Chris there. So which one? I want to let Road Dirt pick his next one, man. You want to talk about how we're all criminals, or how we're all substance abusers?
Let's see. Well, let's go substance abuse, or let's go to drugs and talk about drugs, because
Okay.
I think we kind of touched on the criminal a little bit under the unemployed and employable, but if we run out of time and we go back, whatever. But drugs, so I mean, it's no secret when I write and people I talk to that, you know, I've been clean and sober for 20 plus years. So I've had my own experiences with alcohol and drugs and stuff. But and when I say drugs, everybody, when they look at a biker, they think drugs. I'm talking like a strung out, damn near. I think people look like a drug user to the point where you put drugs above all else, you know, like drugs, like a true abuser of drugs. And I'm not talking about recreational use, because personally, I don't think marijuana, I don't think weed is even really a fucking drug. I think weed is less damaging personally as an individual than liquor and alcohol, right? So that's how I feel. So when somebody goes, oh, they smoke weed, I'm like, fuck it. I'd rather see somebody smoke a joint than fucking drink 6 shots, you know, and then try to function. But anyway, I think there's a stereotype about drugs, you know, that everybody's a drug addict, that everybody's slinging dope, everybody's doing dope. There's just we're surrounded by dope. You know, that just seems to be like a stereotype that I pick up off some people. And though there are recreational drug users in our community and people having fun on the weekends and stuff, you know, it's usually those little pockets. Because let's be honest, now I don't know about like recreational riders, but in the club community, it's a lot of work, man. Like, so I've spent a lot of time being a sergeant at arms, and you're constantly on point. You know, I've been a president, you know, and when you're the president or you're any officer really, but definitely like president, sergeant at arms, you have to always be paying attention to what's going on around you when you're out. You always have to be intermingling with people. You're always the face of your organization. So if you're a sloppy ass drunk or so out of it that you can't really function or communicate, you know, that's just a bad light. So most responsible club dudes you see, they're out there. Most guys I know are pretty much in control. They're not. Most guys aren't like I was when I used to drink. That's why I don't drink anymore, because you know I just couldn't do it responsibly. I would be that sloppy ass drunk guy or that crazy dude or dragging people through car windows for no reason, shit like that. You know, that was me. So I had to put it down. But you know, the average biker you see out there, I mean, it dumbfounds me because I'm an addict and an alcoholic, right? So the way I drink, the way I party was like all or nothing. So when I see a motherfucker have 2 beers and set it down, or sit beers all night, but they're responsible and still coherent, I'm like, what the fuck is that? That's not how you drink, right? I still can't comprehend how a motherfucker can drink responsibly, right? I'm like, you know, my wife will have a couple and she's like, oh, I'm getting a little dizzy, I better quit. And I'm like, well, that's the fucking point. It's just getting good. I'm thinking in my mind, go. But, you know, anyway, yeah. I don't see it, you know. I mean, we've all got our brothers and our friends that really just throw down hard, or we know that one guy that's got an issue. And I'm not judging anybody, but as a whole, the community, I think most dudes are pretty damn responsible with their drugs and their drinking and stuff. You know, they do a little recreation, they keep it under wraps. Everybody gets a little wild. That's what we do. Let their hair down. But even that being said, most guys are responsible enough. You won't see them really, really let their hair down unless they get to a clubhouse or somewhere we totally have control and they can just truly let it fly, you know, and have fun in a safe environment. So I don't think that there's I don't see it. And I'm always sober looking around. I don't see it as a big problem or an issue. Once again, maybe it comes from back in the sex, drugs, and rock and roll days when everybody, you know, when that was the way it was. I don't know. I didn't live back then.
And that's why I don't drink either.
What?
Yeah, right.
I'm drinking right now.
Says the guy that's building a pyramid with whatever the hell he's drinking in the background.
No, man. I'm trying to do what Road Dirt was talking about, man. I'm only gonna have 2 tonight.
In the words of Road Dirt, what's the point of that? That's no fun.
Yeah, what's the fucking point of that?
Beer doesn't taste good. So like, why are you gonna just like, yeah, fuck it. No. Road Dirt seen me drink. You know, I just.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. I left. He seemed good, but then I left and rode like 300 miles and got home, and he was still where I left him. Like, and I was going to bed. He was still there. So I don't know what happened after I left, but you
obviously
know, like, it was like 2 a.m. I was like trying to go to sleep at 2 a.m, and they're still there, fucking like, oh, we're still at the bar.
Bro, I was so fucking mad. So what had happened was we were supposed to meet up with this other group, right? Me and a friend of mine, right? I'm not going to put names out here, right? But Dirt knows who I'm talking about. Me and a friend of mine, we met up, right? We were supposed to meet up with some other friends, and we were supposed to ride to North Georgia. Well, the morning comes. I'm like putting all of my cold weather gear on, and he calls me. He's like, hey, man, so like we can still go ride today, but everybody else isn't going because it's way too fucking cold. And I know we live in Florida, but people, when I tell you this bitch got fucking freezing, I mean that shit. This specific morning, it was 32 degrees before we were getting ready to leave my house. And then all you great white North people, fuck off. All right. We live in Florida because it doesn't get cold. Well, it's not cold. So it's like 32 fucking degrees. I'm like, fuck it, let's go. So I go back to bed. Because we were going to meet up a little bit later, right? We go back to bed. We go on this little ride. We fucking end up at this little bar. And fucking bitching little fucking punk rock bar. It was cool as fuck. Met up with Road Dirt and some of his brothers, and everything was cool, right? I was thinking, oh, shit, man. I'll be home by 5 o'clock tonight. And then I looked at my clock. It was like 8 o'clock. I was like, fuck, this is like my fourth Vegas bomb in the last couple of minutes. Maybe I should drink water. So I started drinking water, and then everything was cool. And I'm thinking only like maybe a couple minutes had passed by, and then the fucking bartender turned the lights on. He's got this little alarm for last call. I was like, I'm in danger. So I look at my watch. It's 2:00. I was like, all right, fuck it. I go up there. I was like, man, I need 3 bottles of water. Do you have any coffee? He's like, I don't have any coffee, but I got the water. So I slam the water, and I go outside, and it's fucking freezing. Like, and I have a hoodie, and I don't know why. Well, it's probably because I thought I was going to be home, and it was, the sun was still going to be up. But I have a fucking hoodie, and I'm out there like shivering, smoking a cigarette. And buddy comes up. He says, all right, man, I'm going to take off. We dab up. He takes off. And I look at my phone, and I check the fucking weather. It is 22 degrees. I was like, well, I don't have any sort of leather with me. I have cloth gloves. I have a hoodie and a long sleeve t-shirt. But luckily, it was only like a 20-mile ride home. So it wasn't like shitty forever. But yeah, I couldn't get cold. I couldn't get warm that entire night and half the next morning. Like it was stuck to my bones. But yeah, road dirt. I drink responsibly.
People don't realize though about Florida real quick. I lived in Northern Virginia for 14 years and I rode year round. I've been down here 3 years and I'm fucking ruined. It gets 40 and I'm like, if I ride to work in the mornings when it's like 45, I'm like, Jesus, it's fucking freezing. 3 years ago, I'd be like, this is great fucking riding weather in February. Now I'm like, oh, it's just fucking horrible. It does. Florida does fuck you up, but whatever. That's why I moved here, because I only want to deal with 40 degrees out of like a week out of the year.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, and it is kind of nice though, because like it kind of acclimates you to both of the extremes, because you have like the Satan's taint from like March to November, and then it just kind of drops off, like straight down. Like you wake up the next morning and it's 30 degrees.
Well, you're like several hundred miles north of me. It's not even that drastic down here towards Tampa. It's actually pretty damn warm year round. Up where you're at, that's like fucking ridiculous. It gets cold up in Jacksonville.
Yeah, it does, man. It disrespectful is what I call it. Like, I mean, hey, but I will say I'm very appreciative of the last couple of weeks we've had. There's been some fucking cold temperatures, but for the most part, it's been 40s and up. You can ride in that. If you have leather, anyways. Like I'm telling you, man, I used to, if it was 45 degrees or warmer in San Diego, I was in a hoodie. I didn't give a fuck. It's like, it's fine. The sun will come up. It'll be good. Florida has done something to me, man. I have not worn my leather as much in my life since I have moved here. But I also ride when it's colder, though.
Makes you soft. That's all right, though. That's why I moved down here, and I want it to be fucking 100 every day. So I guess we should probably move on, get back on track.
Well, I'm going to fill in for Dave here and say we're actually at about an hour now. So.
We are.
So, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time tonight. It was pretty good to see you guys. And Chris, it has been so long since Chris has been on an episode. He asked if we were still using Skype. And we're getting ready to renew our StreamYard subscription. So welcome back to the show,
Chris.
The
last time I was on, I was still in Manteca outside of Stockton.
Dude, I think I
said I was getting ready to move. It was right after Forrest passed away.
It was the 50th, I think, right? The 50th episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so, and I'll address that. We've been getting hit up a lot about a lot of missing content on YouTube and Spotify. So we don't know what the fuck is going on, to be honest. There is, I did get an email from Anchor saying that there's some fucking weird shit going on. It's not censorship. It's just some weird shit. Anchor's working on it. And then I guess because I uploaded it at the same time, YouTube kind of like got tapped with that and all that shit got pulled down too. So people are working on it that are way smarter than we are. We're sorry about that. So I didn't want people to get confused. So I went and renamed all the episodes in like numerical order, because that shit was also just pissing me off. Like the minor amount of OCD I have was like freaking the fuck out when I was going from like episode 2 to 27 to 87 to 16. It was fucking, oh, the eye twitch was real. But seriously, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight. I had no other plans, and you guys were my second best option because my wife went to sleep. So
perfect.
Road Dirt got that. So you guys got anything for the listeners before we take off out of here?
No, man. Thanks for having us on, and thanks everybody for listening.
Yeah, definitely. Keep the rubber side down, the shiny side up, you guys, and we'll be hitting you on the next installment.